So I want to talk to you guys about what I learned living in a big city versus a small town. I grew up in a city of brotherly love. I've said this many times on this channel. It shouldn't be an introductory point at all. But I grew up in a mega metropolis, aka the city of Philadelphia. So I was used to the hustle and bustle of the city, the coming and the going, and all the traffic, and the high amounts of volume of foot traffic, and especially in the malls and the stores and stuff like that. And I know malls really aren't much of a thing these days, but this is what I remember. This is what I grew up on. Especially going to the food court with my family and going out to eat and stuff like that. But now that I live in a small town, you get so much peace. There's less traffic. There's less congestion. I find it easier to collect my thoughts, especially when I'm out and about in nature going for a walk in my local park. You see, at one point in my life, I thought that I couldn't live outside of my hometown. I thought that I couldn't see myself living anywhere else but a mega metropolis. One day I sat down, after hanging out with my friends and everything, and I really contemplated some things. I really contemplated some life choices and some life changes. I know I stumbled there. Bear with me. But I contemplated some life choices, some life changes, and I had to realize I don't want to spend the rest of my life in my hometown. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in my neighborhood. I've watched so many of my mom's friends and my uncle's friends who retired in their hometown. They've traveled some, in their youth and everything like that, and they got to see the world, and the world was a different place when they were younger, I understand. They never lived anywhere else. After they came back from, their vacations and stuff like that, some of them retired and sadly passed away in their hometown. And that's when, my uncle's friend, he passed away, and he was very close to our family. We saw him as an uncle. And after he passed away, that's when I came to that realization back in 2011. I said, you know what? I cannot. This is not how I want to spend my life. I was in my early 20s, and I started contemplating other cities and states. I started Googling things. I started looking up images on the internet. I started, doing research on the populations in certain cities and towns in each individual state across the U.S. And I thought to myself, I want somewhere small. My brothers thought I was crazy. My friends thought I was crazy. They said, why do you want somewhere small? This goes on there and that goes on there, and there's hateful people out there. It's hateful people everywhere, sadly. That's just the world we live in. And I pray that one day it changes, but that's just the world we live in. My friends was like, no, I can't see myself living anywhere else other than New York. I can't see myself living anywhere else but this city or this state. I can't see myself. I'm like, that's you. That's your choice. That's your preference. That's your prerogative. Okay, that's what you choose. That's fine. I support you on it. But no one supported me moving to a small town. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she was the only one. It's because she lived in a small town in Georgia before she moved to Philadelphia in the 70s. She always told me that she regretted her decision to move to a big city. She told me that she regretted, this is like we would have these conversations every other night. She told me that she regretted living in a mega metropolis because things changed so drastically. The neighborhood wasn't what it was when she bought her home. Things got violent, crime went up, the taxes went up. The neighborhood, kids in the neighborhood had no respect as time went on. I remember, before she passed away, she was sitting on her top step. Upstairs. I heard my grandma crying one night. I was talking to my friends on the phone, and I got off the phone with them. I said, hey, let me call you right back, bro. I said, I'm going to see what's up with my grandma. So I seen her crying on her step. And I said, Grandma, you good? And she just kept crying. I wrapped my arm around her. I said, talk to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm your grandson. I love you. And she told me that she wanted to live somewhere else. She didn't like the house. She was no longer satisfied with it. This is why I'm a firm believer that when you pray, you ask the Heavenly Father for something, you got to be specific. The Lord knows the contents of your heart. He knows what you're going to ask for before you even approach him in prayer. So be sincere with the Heavenly Father. Like if there's a certain house you've been praying for in a certain neighborhood, pray on it first. Ask the Lord for wisdom and guidance first. Let that house be a blessing and not a burden. And that's what I think it was for my grandmother. Living in Hunting Park, Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, it became a burden after so many years. It became a burden. I remember when my aunt, she lived 2 doors down from me. She went to North Carolina this one summer. She was on vacation, and she video chatted me and my mom and my grandmother, during this time, and she was so happy. And when she came back from North Carolina, she was like a different person. My aunt was like a whole entire different person. She was unhappy. She was grumpy all the time. She really didn't want to be back there. And she told me, like, Matt, if you ever get a chance to move out of here, leave and don't come back. And it wasn't from a threat perspective. It was from the perspective of, I love you, I care for you, and I want you to see the world. And that's exactly what I did. And now that I live in a small town, people are friendlier. I walk down the street, people honk at me and wave and say, hey, how you doing? Even when, I hang out with my friends. They'll introduce me to friends I don't even know. And they'll shake my hand, hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. And they'll, give me a hug and everything like that. And it's entirely different than what I'm used to. You see, when I lived in a city and my friends would introduce me to one of their friends, it was a limp handshake type of, what's up? It was one of these, but with a limp handshake. Out here, they will give you a hug. It's just customary out here, But I've had friends I've met at the job, cook dinner for me. They gave me some money. They slid me a few bucks for gas when I was low on gas. When I needed money to wash my clothes at a laundromat, they slid me money. I, of course, paid them back, but that's the type of hospitality I experienced out here. Now, I did make a video about, being an African-American living in a gem state, and those experiences were true as well. I've encountered some hateful people, but that was not the end-all, be-all experience. That was a one-off experience. But other than that, I've had people give me a car. I had people, give me money to buy clothes for my job, a work uniform and everything. It just blows me away. The hospitality difference of people in a small town versus a mega metropolis. And this is in no way a dish shot to my hometown. I love my hometown with all my heart. Philadelphia will always be in my heart. But I'm just explaining the hospitality I experienced. Even with people who moved from other countries and they moved out here to the gem state, they were like, man, they were so friendly. They were so friendly. If you ever get an opportunity to move to a small town and this is in your heart to do so, this is something you're very serious about doing, I would recommend you do your research first so you know exactly where you're moving to, and also to give it a try. You know what I mean? If everything checks out, give it a try. If it's not for you, you can at least say you tried. I've had friends who moved from New York, came out here, and they said, you know what, Idaho just isn't for me. Idaho is not really for me. I lived here for about 4 or 5 years. I'm going to move back to New York. And, major shots out to them. They at least tried. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. I definitely did not want to retire and grow old in my hometown. I wanted to experience life, especially after my grandmother and my aunt told me about that when I was younger, These are just the experiences, the hospitality experiences, for a few examples that I've witnessed living in a small town versus a big city. Now, you can choose to move anywhere in the world. If you want to live in another country, hey, go for it. If you want to live in your hometown, then go for it. If you want to move out of your hometown, then go for it. You have to do what's best for you. This is your life you have to live. And here's one thing. Here's one takeaway I want you guys to carry with you in your heart. Don't let people discourage you from going after your dream. If leaving your hometown means you got to go to college, hey, go for it. If leaving your hometown means you start a new career opportunity, then go for it. And if leaving your hometown means you're chasing after your dreams, then go for it. Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life living with regret. That should have, would have, could have phase can hit you hard. Because I still reflect on my life on what it could have been had I became an animator. But I let my friends talk me out of that when I was younger. I let them ridicule me out of it, I should say. And now I sit back, I'm like, man, well, imagine what type of animated shows I could have came up with, what type of concepts and ideas, because I had the script for the very first pilot episode completely done, from the screen fade in, from when the scene begins to the screen fade out when the episode ends and the credits begin to roll. I had an entire script written from beginning to end. Stretched out, it was a 6-minute pilot. Interaction between characters and everything. And I let my friends talk me out of that. So don't let anyone talk you out of your dreams. If you want to, give a small town a chance, if you want to live in another country, if you want to go to college, if you want to chase out your dreams, you want to, go for a career opportunity, go for it. Don't let anyone discourage you. Anyway, this is just a quick conversation on what I experienced living in a small town. But anyway, I love you guys. I thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Peace.